This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Locksmith, LennyLocksmith.com, Lenny Locksmith on Twitter. They've got locations all throughout South Florida, Dade, Broward, Palm Beach. They're even in Orlando and Tampa. So for those of you listening to us in Orlando and watching in Tampa, there you can call Lenny Locksmith. We even have a location in Phoenix, Arizona, just in case, just so you'll know, okay? Because it's expanding all over the place. 24-hour locksmith, house and car locks, all of that residential, commercial locksmith. You lose your car keys, they'll replace them. You lose your home keys, they'll replace them. They'll replace the locks, all of that. Serving all of South Florida and even Central Florida. Lenny Locksmith, and tell them that Big O sent you. George, how you feeling, my friend? You feeling good?
Orlando, how are you?
Very good.
Well, wait, real quick. What are you rocking there? You got the old Strikers? Yeah, that's what I thought. I saw the Bumblebee going.
You know it, baby. You know
Good times at Lockhart.
I'm all hometown. I will always be pure hometown every day. This weekend, I don't think people realize how difficult it is that not only was it a back-to-back road games, but midday games, dude, that take you and listen, I've been a beat guy and I know men, just us in general, how habitual we are in our world, in our lives, that when you just take us out of our own, routines, we kind of get a little discombobulated here. Well, people don't realize how habitual athletes are in their routines. And for them to get completely out of their routine, and this is rare that you play a Saturday, Sunday in middays like that. And then the first game also to come back from the 4-goal deficit is just sick. But I think it's one of it really shows you the level of professionalism and how much these guys care about what they're doing, because that's the kind of weekend, George, you mail it in, dude.
Absolutely. I mean, I talked to Andrew Burnett about it on Friday. The Saturday game in New Jersey wasn't your normal afternoon game. Usually when you're on the road, your hotel is right next door. You wake up, you have breakfast, you have coffee, you walk to the rink. The Panthers weren't staying in Newark, New Jersey. They stayed in New York, had the bus in, so you have to get up even earlier. They had traffic. It was a whole mess. And then you walk into, Newark, and you're like, yeah, all right, playing the Devils, whatever. Yeah, it is a mental grind when you're playing those kind of games, especially when you're a team like the Panthers, when you're really not fighting for anything. New Jersey, on the other hand, this is their Super Bowl, right? Playing the Panthers is like, man, we can beat these guys. The past couple of weeks have been worth it. So the Panthers look terrible for the first two periods. There's no way around that.
That's what I was saying. That's what
they were terrible those first two periods. Right. They did mail it in. I mean, and you do. But give them credit for waking up in the third period. They brought the attack to New Jersey, and like Lindy Ruff said in the post game, the coach of the Devils, he was
former
like,
Panther.
yeah, we were former Panther coach. He was the goalie coach for the '96 team. Lindy, great guy, by the way. Lindy goes, we were a young, scared team, and the Panthers took advantage, and they certainly did, scoring 4 goals there in that third while not giving up anything. I mean, I think they ended up with 5 shots in the third period, and maybe they had 1 scoring chance for New Jersey. So an absolutely dominating performance by the Panthers in that third, good enough to tie the thing up and get the win.
I can't. I mean, the Saturday game obviously was just out of this world, and then you bounce back, and the next day, and the performances. And by the way, Bob had an ugly outing out there too. So let's. How much are we concerned with Bob having those moments that still kind of leave you like, yeah, he's done good, but he's still not that Bob from Columbus of a couple of years ago.
Well, I'm not going to take anything away from New Jersey. That was a mercy killing, pulling him out out after 2 periods. The Panthers were leaving him out to dry. I mean, listen, he gave up 6 and his numbers looked horrible. But maybe there were 2 that were on him. I mean, that was just an ugly performance all around.
You're right about that. I'm not taking
that. But
You're right. That's a
But
good point.
those are the kind of games you just have to get through. I wouldn't have been surprised if Brunette left him in for that third period. But again, it was a mercy pull, and the Panthers weren't expecting to come back and win. No matter what they tell you, when you're down 4 on the road, you're expecting you're going to give up one more.
Right.
Right? You're not
Yeah.
going to shut the team
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
And they
It's not
absolutely
to that
did. So,
second goal that you actually believe you have a shot,
right.
really. Let's be honest now.
Like
Once
the
you scored
guys.
that second goal, you're like, oh, now we have a shot. Now it's realistic.
Because you think in your head, hey, and this is, the players said that they talked about this in the locker room. Let's get 2 before the 10-minute mark. Let's make it a 2-goal game with
Right.
10 minutes left to go. And that's exactly what they did. They got the 2 quick goals from their defensemen, and they were back, and they were back in that ball game. And, the rest is history. And that's exactly what Saturday was, history. The Florida Panthers, there's been 2 teams in the last 5 years that have come back from a 4-goal deficit. The Panthers did it in the third period. The Panthers did it a couple years ago in Boston. They were down 4-0 going into the third, get an Aaron Ekblad goal 30 seconds in. They're off to the races there, winning overtime. And again, the other day, and then Newark, they were able to do it. So, this team's got something special going on, and 13 games left. They still have a lot to play for. I think tonight having Toronto come into the building is good for the Panthers. There's not going to be any resting on their laurels. They know that Toronto can be right on their heels. The Panthers want to win the Atlantic. They've got a 7-point lead on Toronto, but if they lose in regulation tonight, Toronto all of a sudden is 5 points back. Now you got some heat on you.
Right. No, I'm with you there. When we look at this season, and we don't have everybody on board yet. We don't have everybody really realizing what's going on. And look, I'm getting ahead of myself. They haven't made a deep run into the playoffs since the mid-90s.
Yeah.
I understand all of that. They're the best team on the planet. And hopefully they do make that run all the way to the Stanley Cup and hopefully even win it this year. That would be phenomenal.
Sure.
But the message I want to send to people is that it's like, get on board, because you may not realize this right now, but this may be one of the greatest teams in South Florida history. When we talk about the 72 Dolphins and maybe we pick, the big 3, this might be right there behind those teams, dude, as one of the greatest teams in South Florida history. And I want people to get on board, because the offense that this team has is absolutely sick. I don't know if we'll ever, hopefully we keep them around, so we'll see it again next year and next year after that. But it's amazing. And that's what I try to tell people about how special is what's developing in Sunrise.
Yeah, I remember, and indulge me here for a minute. About a few years ago, the Herald had me do a story and talk to Edwin Pope about about covering the 72 Dolphins. And I remember asking Edwin, did you realize what was going on in the moment? Did you realize? And he goes, no, you never do. You never realize the good old days when you're in them, right? And that carried with me when the Heat had LeBron James and the big 3. We were living in the good old days right then and there, and I don't know how many people realized it, but these days end. And right now, the Florida Panthers are living in their good old. It may not get any better than this. They're going for it right now, because you only have limited opportunity to do something special, and the Florida Panthers are know that they may not do it. I don't know. They may lose in the first round of Washington. We don't know what's going to transpire, but they've never ever had a team like this. Everybody loves the 96 team. They were a lovable bunch, but as I've told you before, that 6 months later you had a general manager tearing that team apart because it was not all that great.
Yeah, skill-wise it wasn't
the
anything.
hockey minds.
Right.
Yeah. So this team you're trying to keep together as long as you can, and now we have a salary cap. You may not be able to do it, but that's neither here nor there.
No, but wait a minute. To educate folks, we're getting a little break like Tampa did with Ekblad. So this team's a
Right
little
now,
better.
I'm talking about next year and the year after
But that's
that.
what
You're
I'm
going to
that's what
have
I'm
some.
saying.
But
Ride
right
this
now,
year. That's what I'm
right.
saying. Enjoy this year because next year's team may not be as good as this team, may not be as deep as this team. So please enjoy what's going on right now, man. God.
It is fun because they are good, boy. I'll tell you what, they are a dominating team. When they come at you in waves, and they are very hard to match up with. They are very hard to contend with. Some teams have succeeded. You might be able to bottle the Panthers up for a period, maybe 2 periods, but after a while, I mean, they just wear you down. Goalies can only sustain so much when they're getting
Yes.
40 shots a night, and these aren't outside just little dink and these goalies are just like exhausted after 2 periods, and they're like, well, here comes the third. They're going to do it to you all
Remember,
over
we're
again.
Panther fans. We've been on the other side of watching our goalie be
Absolutely.
peppered 40 times a night.
How many times did we see Roberto Luongo just
Amen.
exhausted?
Yep.
And they end up losing 2-1 because as good as Roberto Luongo was, he could not do it the whole game.
Right.
And that's what the Panthers are doing to the
Yeah.
opposition.
How are they health wise going into this game outside of Ekblad, of course?
Yeah, everything's fine. Patrick Hornquist will not play tonight. It doesn't appear. He's still got that upper body. I think that's what they're saying. But he's been practicing with the team. He probably returns Friday against the Sabres when they come down here. And Nola Chari is out. We haven't seen him in a little while, so they're probably just trying to get him ready for the playoffs. But other than that, the Panthers are at pretty much 100%.
George, how cool is it? And walk us through the reaction of people around the league, other reporters and writers, because for many years you get to talk to your colleagues about some great teams that they're covering.
Sure.
So I'm wondering, what's the reaction now when you get to see people or on the road or whatever, and they tell you about the Panthers and how impressed they are and those kind of things?
It's always the same. Georgie, you got yourself a team finally, and people are very impressed with the Panthers. This is a very impressive team. You read the tweets when the Panthers go on the road and they get to see them up close and personal, and they get to see that offensive push that just comes line after line after line, and it's overwhelming to teams. I mean, the Panthers really could score 7-8 goals a game, and that's why you're seeing the Vegas lines. The Vegas knows it now. Vegas is like, yeah, we're not playing around with these guys no more, because the Panthers, you don't know what they're going to do. I mean, even when the Panthers only scored 2 or 3 goals in a game, they had 56 scoring chances. So, yeah, you talk about around the league, everybody is like, yeah, you've got a team here. Even some coaches that I've talked to privately. One former Florida Panther coach, not going to name names, there's a couple out there, was like, whoa, wow, you got a team this year, boy.
Hey, are they going to let you back into the locker rooms at all this year for the for postseason or anything?
I don't know. We haven't discussed that yet. Right now we're doing breakout rooms, so you're getting a couple players here and there with the coach. I don't know. I mean, I think whatever happens with the NBA is what the NHL do. The NHL, whatever the NBA does, the NHL does. I mean, when the NHL canceled games, guess what? The NHL followed suit. So if the NBA starts letting people back in, yeah, whatever the NBA does, the NHL follows.
Yeah, NBA handles things the right way, man, usually. You know what I'm saying? As much as I love football, they mishandle stuff all the effing time. Give us a preview, my brother, tonight against the Maple Leafs. What do Panthers look for tonight? What do Panther fans look for tonight?
Well, this is a good game and a nice test for the Panthers. Again, they just clinched a playoff spot, so you would think, maybe they're kind of like, yeah, all right. They're not. I mean, they have big goals right now. Not only what they're going to do in the playoffs, but what they do going into the playoffs. They have the opportunity to win the Atlantic, which gives them home ice advantage at least through the first 2 rounds. They have an opportunity to win the Eastern Conference, which gives them home ice all through the East. And they're right on Colorado's tail for the number 1 record in the NHL, which would give you home ice in the Stanley Cup final. So the Panthers have something to play for, and the good thing is they know it. So they don't want to be sleepwalking into the playoffs. Big O, how many times have we seen teams that let the foot off the gas and then they're a little rusty because the Panthers, after their last game, I believe they end the season in Montreal, the regular season. They're going to probably have 3, 4, 5 days off. So you want to be sharp going into the playoffs. You don't want to lose that momentum. But I'll tell you what, I don't know why we would think this team would. I mean, they've been rolling and rolling and rolling since last year. They picked right up where they left off at the beginning of the season. Had
They've
a couple
proven
hiccups
nothing.
here and there.
They've
But
proven nothing, so they should be motivated to go
They
prove
are.
everything. That's what I mean.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But let's not forget, though, while we have been watching this Panther team for 20 years and know the the droughts and yada yada, these guys don't know anything about that. I mean,
Right.
clear slates for them. They didn't do it.
Right.
They didn't.
No,
They didn't lose to the Islanders.
Right.
5 years ago. So
I'm with you. Now, to piggyback off of that, to wrap up here this segment, you talked about how you don't expect the Panthers to have a letdown, and obviously this weekend was the perfect example to show you that professionalism is at an all-time high for this franchise. But in general, can you explain why the NHL cares more about their regular season than the NBA? Because players don't just rest in the NHL all the time and load management and all this BS. And meanwhile, in the NBA, we got plenty of that crap going on and players taking off all the time and all that. That doesn't go on in the NHL. So what is it about? Is it just a blue-collar nature? What is it? Why?
I'm not going to get into that part. Numbers. It's numbers, though, right? Because you only have 23 players on your team and you have to dress 20. So it's not like you can, like in the NBA, you've got 15 guys on your roster. You might only
7 or 8.
use 8 or 9. So you can sit guys in a game if you want to. You can't do that in the NHL. You've got to ice a team. So I think that's part of it. But yeah, there are games.
But they don't play like they're coasting. You know what I'm saying? They don't play.
The Panthers could say
even the big three. There were moments where they just put it on cruise control.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. But you saw it last year with Tampa Bay. They were like, we're in the playoffs. What do we care? Just tell us when the postseason starts. But they're a team that have accomplished some things. The Panthers aren't that. Listen, there are going to be opportunities to say, Jonathan Huberdeau, my gosh, you've played every single game. Take the night off. He's not going to do it. Sasha Barkov, man, you know what? We want to take the night off. He ain't going to do it. These guys want to play. They do want to play. They want to be out there with their teammates. And they realize that you need to be as sharp as you can going into the playoffs. Now, the Panthers are going to mix and match some lineup. They're going to bring up some guys from the minors. When I covered Columbus, the Columbus on the next to last game of the season clinched a playoff spot. The following night, they were in Nashville, and it was like they iced a minor league team against Nashville. The Panthers could do that. If everything's locked up and maybe you'll see the Panthers bring up half the Charlotte Checkers to play in a game, but that might be one game,
Okay. All right.
Just so nobody gets hurt going into the playoffs. Maybe let a couple guys make their NHL debuts, that kind of thing. But
all right, FloridaHockeyNow.com is what you need as a Panther fan, so you can keep up with everything. Subscribe to it. It's $3 a month. It's a joke, okay? And the man puts out like 87 stories a day. FloridaHockeyNow.com. What are you working on FloridaHockeyNow.com, sir?
Well, thanks for asking. This morning we published a story about Jonathan Huberdeau and Sasha Barkov's relationship over the years, and how Huberdeau just broke Barkov's single season scoring record, and he seemed kind of, I don't want to talk to Barky about it, I don't know how he's going to feel. And yeah, Barkov's like, man, God bless him, good for him, that kind of thing. Very happy for Jonathan Huberdeau to pull off that record. We've also got a story coming up today on Carter Verhaeghe, big part of that first line for the Panthers. He's a Toronto guy, grew up a Maple Leafs fan, Matt Sundin jerseys, yada, yada, yada. So this is a big game for him. Everybody back home in Ontario is going to be watching. So we'll have that story. And then later in the week, we've got a lot of good stuff. We got some Sergei Bobrovsky stuff, some Spencer Knight stories. So a lot of stuff happening at Florida Hockey Now.
There you go. Subscribe, please. FloridaHockeyNow.com, so you can get everything on the Florida Panthers and get on board. I'm telling you, this is going to be one of the greatest teams in South Florida sports history, and they're in the middle of a beautiful season right now. Follow him on Twitter at George Richards. George, thank you, my brother. Appreciate you. Enjoy the Okie tonight.
All right. Thank you, Big O. We'll see you, bud.
You got it. There you go. That is your Florida Panthers lockdown segment.